You know something? At 63, I realized that starting over does not mean that you failed. It actually means you tried for something and it just didn't work. Sometimes life just happens and it falls apart because it no longer fits or aligns with what you're up to, or that life just happened through divorce, through loss of family members, through all kinds of things. You lose your job, life changes. But that's one of the things that I realized, that it doesn't mean that it's too late and you can't reinvent yourself. This just gives you an opportunity to create more joy and to create the life you want and find purpose. Lesson one: starting over is often not by choice. Like for myself, I've started over many times just by divorce or losing family member, parents, brothers, or just moving out on my own. It often is very painful when you start, but it's moving you towards a life that you can create and love. You know what? It's not by choice. It's by circumstance. Things happen. And then you learn how to keep moving forward and to create something that builds you up and makes you stronger. It can be a painful transition starting over, but it pushes you towards growth. Remember, just because one chapter is ending painfully does not mean the next chapter will not be beautiful. Lesson two: you're allowed to change your mind. Like for me, I changed my mind when I had lost my job and it was during the pandemic. And I had a choice. I said I could sit around and be mad that life is forcing me to start over, or I could learn how to podcast. So I literally trained myself how to podcast, interview, edit, and create a plan for podcasting. And it actually is how I started Tea Time Midlife Edition podcast. It was just starting over, and it creates so much joy. And I would have never had that opportunity if I didn't change my mind. Just because you did it for years doesn't mean that you have to do it forever. You're allowed to grow and evolve and start over and find peace and joy and build a softer life. Lesson three: some of life's hardest seasons also reveal who you are. I remember my mother had passed away. My father had lived in the house that he had retired in with my mom. And unfortunately, it was 5 years later, and I was getting divorced. And I thought it would be a good thing to go home and support him through these harder transitions. He'd been married for many years. But most of all, I had to give up my identity as a New Yorker. I had been living in New York for 20 years, and I'd modeled, I've done all kinds of stuff, and I realized that that's just my identity. It's not who I am. So I had to sit with a question, which was, if I'm not those things, then who am I? I could be a support for my father, but is that all I am? Or is there more? So after sitting with it, I realized that I can choose something else. And so I chose to support him and help him to meet his next wife and create my life too at the same time. Starting over again. Yeah, that was the transition time, is because I asked myself the question, who am I and who else could I be? Lesson four: you're never too old to learn something new. At age 59, my father had passed away, and I had to start over. Yeah, and I had to sit with the question, what now? I'm older. I'm not going to be hired. I literally started doubting myself. But I always was a continuous learner. So I knew that I could learn and grow and do something different. So I packed up and I moved to another state. But that was after networking with my friends. I wanted to see where they were. This was years later after I worked with them at other jobs and other positions. And a lot of them were just about to retire. But I lucked out just by reaching out to someone and sharing where I am and what happened. And they created like an opening where there really wasn't an opening. But because I networked and I shared where I was able to move to another state, get a great job, start newly, and have a new purpose. So, your experience, that's your advantage. Yeah, I didn't look at it as it was a hindrance. I look at it was like, look, you get this much wealth of information through me, and I can learn some new skills and upgrade myself and expand myself. And it worked. I found purpose. I was a difference maker. I started learning, growing, and expanding my vision of myself. I started building again, and that brought me joy, even at this age. Lesson 5, your health is your foundation. I mean, as busy as I became in my career, I started to neglect my health and I started noticing my weight was going up, where before I could go up 10, down 5, whatever that was. But I no longer could do that because my health was kind of fluctuating because of cortisol or the pressures of a stressful job. So I decided to put me on the list. I literally started by exercising, doing Qigong in the morning, meditation at work for 10 minutes in a day, also changing my food plan so I was eating more healthy. And once I put myself on a list, I started to feel better, look better, and actually grow and get my strength. Started doing cardio and weightlifting classes at the same time. Once you put you on a list, never take you off because your health is your foundation as you get older. There is no other resource that can build a better foundation than your health. There is no perfect time to start. You know what? I get it. It's hard to do, but you just have to start. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to start. Lesson 6, joy, it's necessary. You know what? I had to not listen to the people who said, act your age. You're having absolutely too much fun. You know what? You're too old to be doing that. And I said, absolutely not. It's my turn. It's my time. And I will be having fun. So what I did was I started bachata dancing. I started going to plays. I started to actually take solo trips. I didn't wait for permission to go have fun or be fun or meet new people. Most people stop trying. They start playing small and they don't allow themselves to have joy or fun because they're older. And it's like, no, this is your opportunity to be the best you can be, the best version of you. I was nervous when I started, but I knew I had to try something new. You know what? This is my chance to do something new and be new and actually see myself newly. I just started because at this point, if it ends tomorrow, I want to know that I lived and played full out in my life. It reminds me of the movie Shawshank Redemption. Get busy living or get busy dying. Lesson 7. Purpose keeps you vibrant. You know, people need a purpose because, you know what? Having more cars, more toys, more things actually does not give you purpose. Actually, endless productivity doesn't give you purpose. Only thing gives you purpose is purpose. Purpose keeps you vibrant. Purpose keeps you young. Purpose keeps you growing and expanding. So I'm so grateful I got to see that lesson, which is purpose keeps you vibrant. So if you're in a season of transition, maybe from divorce or grief or, your kids moved out and this is your chance, or you're retired and you are starting over. I realize that life you built may no longer fit anymore, and it's never too late to start over. So if this resonates with you, this video was for you. It's not too late to start over. You know what? You're not too old, and you're not late. And most of all, you're not alone. Lots of people are in the season of starting over. But one thing that they have made up their mind is that they are going to start over and create more joy and purpose in their life. If this is you, comment in the comment section. I read all the comments. If you have any questions, reach out to me and set up a call, and we can discuss and figure out what is needed and wanted for you to move forward as you start over. Cheers.